Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Coronavirus has impacted on nearly every aspect of society, and sadly schools have been no exception. Despite the difficulties and extra stress COVID has caused, I commend the hard work of all our teachers and teaching staff across Delyn who have adapted their lessons to be accessible online and who have supported students throughout this whole process. I also praise the Delyn students and those throughout the whole of the United Kingdom who have had to cope with unprecedented pressures and uncertainties over the last few months regarding their results and futures. Before we can start to move forward and ensure the same errors are not made again, we need to understand the distress and worry it's caused to students, families and schools. The algorithm was wrong, and it didn't lead to the fairest outcomes for all students. And it's right that we stop to evaluate the methods used to calculate grades and how that process was handled. And as mentioned by my honourable friend for Hyndburn earlier, whilst some on the other side may triumphantly trumpet another government U-turn, I urge them to consider what it actually shows. A government willing to listen, be flexible and be adaptable. In fact, a recent YouGov tracker of public response to government U-turns found that 49% of respondents thought that a U-turn was actually a good sign, showing ministers willing to listen and change, compared to only 23% thinking U-turns were a bad thing. Financial Times also stated a government U-turn can be a sign of a healthy and functional democracy. So if we want to encourage healthy and honest debate, we should define these U-turns in a positive light, as it demonstrates a government that can be held to account, react accordingly and will do the right thing. So I support the decision made by this government to have GCSE, AS and A-level results based on teacher estimates when the algorithm system that was widely accepted as the best way failed to deliver. But I can't help but comment on the slight hypocrisy from the other side of the House, who have been very vocal in their criticism of this government's handling of the grading process, despite the Labour-led government in Wales with the Lib Dem Education Minister using a similar algorithm and undertaking a U-turn to base results off teacher-predicted grades. Claims made by the Welsh Labour government that the system in Wales was in fact more robust and more credible, with the First Minister even defending the original system, and that actually led to a higher amount being downgraded than were in England. So they either carried out their own analysis and reached the same conclusions as the UK government, in which case they should feel the same criticism from their colleagues, or they did no analysis and just followed blindly the UK government's position, and they should have no legitimacy to govern at all. So I suggest that those on the other side of the House evaluate those same mistakes and decisions made by their own party in government before criticising this one. I hope ultimately that the regulatory bodies and relevant groups across all the devolved nations take the time to learn the lessons needed, even in these challenging circumstances.